The story begins with a vicious battle in the continent of Yggdra. A volunteer army consisting of heroes from all over the continent is fighting for its freedom and peace against the black army of the tyrannical Dark King who wants to fill the world with darkness and despair. Yuri, the hero and leader of the volunteer army, manages to enter the Dark King's castle with his group. He kills Dark King's lackeys with a single swing of his sword and confronts him. The Dark King mocks him, but Yuri, unwilling to bow down, refuses to give up and strikes him with his powerful mana attack. But it's to no avail. Even after using his strongest attack, the Dark King turns the tables using his dark energy and knocks him out. The Dark King then asks his daughter Fona, who is on Yuri's side, fighting for a peaceful world, to hand him the Chain Chronicle, the only book in existence that can change the fate of the world and its wielder. Seeing this, Pirika, a spirit created from the will of the world, tries to stop the Dark King, but he catches her in his fist and continues to approach Fona for the book. Yuri, with the sheer force of his will, manages to stand up with his heavily injured body, and charges forward to strike him with his sword. But Dark King once again shows how omnipotent and powerful he is, and attacks him with his dark energy. He tries to snatch the book from his own daughter, Fiona. In the process of snatching, he painfully kills Pirika by crushing her in his fist and ends up tearing the Chain Chronicles in half. The Chain Chronicles then start emitting dark energy due to Pirika's tragic and honorable death, symbolizing that the destruction of the world is near. Seeing harmful engulfing dark energy, Yuri's comrades take back Yuri and the other half of the Chain Chronicles with them, retreating to their camp. When Yuri wakes up, he musters his regrettable courage and apologizes to Fona for not being able to save Pirika and Chain Chronicle. After losing the battle, all the troops retreated to their hometown due to the disbandment of the Alliance, blaming Yuri, whom they perceived as their only hope to save the world due to his lack of skills as a swordsman and a leader. Yuri, who's been abandoned by everyone except for his loyal friends, decides to return to Vice Capital with his companions. On their way, they discover a village that is being attacked by a black army and rush over there. In the village, they find a mysterious young boy named Aram who is fighting his heart out to stop the black army from harming the villagers. Yuri's companions regain their composure and will to protect everyone after seeing the determination in Aram's eyes and engage in a battle with black knights. But Yuri is still none after losing to the Dark King and seeing the destruction caused by the black army, and starts to lose faith in himself. Watching Aram fight so bravely, Yuri snaps out of all the negative thoughts and steps forward to fight. He fuses his mana into his sword and strikes the enemy with his powerful attack, which blows the enemy in one strike. After the fight, he and Aram introduce themselves, but soon Aram faints due to excessive use of his mana. When Aram wakes up, Yuri informs him about the villagers' safety and he joins them for dinner. During dinner, powerful dark energy emits from the Chain Chronicle again. After a short while, when it stops emitting, the group notices that all pages haven't turned black yet, meaning their friend Pirika is still alive. So they all decide to find and save her. After dinner, Yuri tries to persuade Aram to join his group by telling him that having a supportive comrade is much better. Aram refuses his offer but agrees to accompany him to Vice Capital. The next day, they reach the Vice Capital and watch that Black Army is attacking the city. Yuri and his comrades help the warriors of Vice Capital to fight against the Black Army. Yuri slashes the enemies with his sword. He and his two comrades then use a chain attack which combines their moves. With this technique, they blow enemies in one strike. Aram insists Yuri teach this move to him, but Yuri informs him that performing this chain technique requires a strong bond with allies. Burkhart, one of Yuri's comrades and Holy Kingdom's knight, interrupts their conversation. He expresses his anger at Aram for stealing other people's mana in a fight, which makes Aram leave in anger. A short while later, the group is once again attacked by Black Army, but this time, the group members face difficulty in fighting against them as their mana is exhausted. Aram arrives on the battlefield and kills enemies with his swift sword slashes. He then gathers his mana and shares it with other group members, which helps them in defeating the Black Army. Later, when Aram decides to join the group, Yuri welcomes him and also declares his plan to his friend of forming a new and stronger Black King suppression army, so he can fight the Dark King in the future and restore the world to its rightful order. Fona and Yuri then visit the Alliance Guild leader, Gilbert. They report about their battle with the Dark King and inform him about their plan of going to Sage Tower to find the three sages so they can learn about Pirika's whereabouts. The next day, Yuri bids farewell to his comrade Juliana, the princess of the Holy Kingdom, who is returning to her country to recruit more allies for his army. The group then sets off to the Sage Tower. In their journey, Yuri tries to improve Aram and Burkhart's relationship, which ends up making Burkhart more upset. Burkhart ignores Yuri and goes into the forest alone to clear his mind. A short while later, Yuri and his group rush into the forest after noticing that black fog is emerging from there. In the forest, they find Irenis, one of the Dark King's mages, who has engulfed Buckhart with dark energy, making him lose all sense of himself. Irenis summons a Black Knight to stop everyone from saving Burkhart. Yuri and his two comrades, Kine and Machidia, annihilate Black Knight in a single strike by using a chain attack together. Unfortunately, before they could reach Burkhart, he gets consumed by the darkness inside him and turns into a demon. In this new depraved state, he tries to attack Aram with his sword. Yuri protects Aram and engages in a sword duel with Burkhart. Both strike each other fiercely with swords, but Irenis interrupts their fight and takes Burkhart away with her, vanishing in seconds. But as a result of the previous battles, Yuri is infected with dark energy due to his battle with Dark King, and now his right hand is completely engulfed by it, meaning he can also become a demon if it keeps spreading. Fona tries to all her sweat and tears to heal him using Chain Chronicle, but the darkness is too strong to be cleansed. The next morning, when Yuri and his group arrive at the Sage Tower and are welcomed by the three sages, Melchior, Dilma, and the Sage of Destiny, Fatima. Fatima, using her power, verifies that Pirika is still alive, though her whereabouts are still unknown. She suggests they go to Maze Pass, the home of earth and fire sprites, to find more clues about Pirika. Therefore, along with 4 sorcerers, Yuri and his comrades head toward Maze Pass. After arriving at Maze Pass, the group faces Black Knights once again. This time, the Black Knights keep on regenerating due to a heavy black blizzard, making it hard to fight them. A sorcerer's firepower manages to defeat them, but it also melts the snow on the mountains, causing Yuri and Aram to fall into a deep pit. Having no idea of their location, Yuri decides to take shelter and waits for his friends to find them. Aram leaves to take a leak but doesn't return for a long time. Yuri realizes that Aram has lost his way, but before being able to look for him, he faces his inner demon, who tries to instill fear, selfishness, and negative thoughts in him. With Aram's help, Yuri snaps out of it and realizes that his illusion of fear was caused by black monsters. Yuri and Aram then step forward to fight them. They both use the chain attack technique together for the first time, which blows the monsters in one strike. As a result, they strengthen their bond of friendship. After a while, their friends arrive and they reunite with them. Later, he meets earth and fire spirits who show hospitality towards them and also agree on joining his Black King suppression army. The group then heads to Soul Island to meet Yggdra, a forest sprite who lives in the World Tree Library and takes care of other chronicles to ask for help in finding Pirika. On their way, they meet their alliance's former member named Shuza, the Lord of 9 fire territories in the Land of Ogres. He with his army threatens them to hand over Chain Chronicles, as he plans on becoming the king himself after he defeats Dark King using this book. Yuri clashes with Shuza and stops him from taking the Chain Chronicle from Fona. Shuza then blames Yuri's soft nature and lack of determination for his loss in the battle against the Dark King. Yuri instructs Aram to take Fona away. The battle between Shuza's forces and Yuri's group within a few seconds begins. Shuza continues to fiercely strike Yuri with his sword and reveals to him that he has also fallen to a state of blackness. Yuri gathers his mana to launch the chain attack together with his 2 comrades, Kine and Machidia, but Shuza breaks his chain attack before it launches and throws Yuri on the ground. He then knocks down Aram, who is protecting Fona, and takes Chain Chronicle from her. Yuri rushes in anger to stop him suddenly. Irenis appears with her 2 demon allies, Burkhart and Elzada. This pushes Shuza and Yuri's forces to fight Irenis's 2 allies and her summoned Black Knights. Irenis offers Yuri to join the Dark King as he is already tainted with darkness, but Yuri strongly opposes it. Once again, he sees the illusion of his dark self, who tries to break his spirit and determination. The illusion makes him realize how big of a failure he is, as he couldn't protect his friend in Chain Chronicle. Yuri doesn't submit to his inner demon temptation and attempts to hit Irenis with his sword. Irenis easily dodges his attacks and uses her dark magic on him, which strongly affects him. With all the surrounding chaos and Irenis's provocation, Yuri feels overwhelmed. As a result, darkness starts engulfing him. Unwilling to succumb to darkness and temptation, he charges forward and stabs his inner demon self. But when the illusion breaks, he realizes that he has stabbed his friend, Kine. Finally, pushed to the edge, Yuri starts to succumb to his darkness and evil desires as it starts to take over his body, making everyone tremble in fear as the light and hope of all people transforms into a demon. His transformation shocks Aram and his friends. Elzada makes colossal puppets, and Burkhart creates a giant rock wall to stop everyone from approaching and saving Yuri. Irenis and her allies then leave with Yuri. They take him to meet the Dark King, who is waiting for him. Dark King welcomes his demon self. Yuri acknowledges that all his past efforts to save the world were hopeless and had no meaning. This time, he decides to challenge the world with his darkness, and if the world falls to his own hands, he concludes that saving the world was never worth it. To begin with, the Dark King sends Yuri and his Black Army to Soul Island for the execution of their destruction plan, and he finds Aram and Fona there. He strikes Aram with his dark blade, but Aram blocks the attack. Aram then gathers his mana and dashes at Yuri at the speed of light, but Yuri dodges him. He then attacks Aram with his power of blackness. The two forest sprites, Rafalgar and his daughter, Vinta, also join the battle to help Aram and Fona. Yuri dodges Vinta's magical power attack with ease, but when Rafalgar strikes him with his club, it gives Aram and Yuri a chance to run away and meet Forest Sprite Igra, who takes care of other Chronicles. Rafalgar and Yuri then exchange blows with each other. Vinta tries to help his father, but Yuri attacks her with his black power in response. Rafalgar jumps to protect her but gets injured by black power in her place. Yuri learns that Aram has gone inside the Chronicles of Yggdra's continent, which contain all the records of this continent. Yuri also heads inside and realizes that Aram has been experiencing his memories inside this chronicle. He notices that they are now in memory of when they were about to fall into the pit at Maze Pass. Yuri tries to make Aram and his past self fall into the pit, but Aram refuses and saves his past self. As a result, Yuri starts fighting with his past self, taking advantage of the situation. Aram gathers his mana into his sword to attack Yuri with his blasting move. Just then, they both receive Pakira's message that she will be back when the Light of Hope returns. After Yuri learns this, he returns to the Dark King's palace. The Dark King tells him that after taking the Chain Chronicles back from Shuza, Aram is now leading his Black King Suppression army to defeat him. Some days later, the Dark King kidnaps his own daughter, Fiona, to take the Chain Chronicles back. When Fona sees Yuri beside the Dark King, her heart starts to ache as she begs him to come to his senses. But Yuri ignores her pleas and binds her with his black power, which enables the Dark King to take Chain Chronicle back from her. Yuri then goes to deal with Aram, who has managed to enter the palace while his Black King Suppression army is fighting with the Black Army outside. The former friends face and strike each other with their swords. Aram begs Yuri to return to him, and apologizes to him for not understanding the burden he has been carrying all this time. The hope of his comrades, all of the people, and the world. Yuri ignores his requests and pushes him to the corner by fiercely attacking him with his blade. Realizing Yuri is not going to give up this madness, Aram gathers a huge amount of mana and dashes at him to kill him with his light power, but Yuri blocks his attack with his flaming sword. This makes Aram fall. Yuri points his sword at Aram to attack him with his dark power, but his comrades arrive and interrupt their fight. Kine manages to scratch Yuri's black armor with his sword while his two other comrades attack him with arrows and bind him with chains using their magic power. Aram then jumps to launch his light power at him, which ends up breaking his dark armor and reawakens Yuri's real self. Yuri then confronts his inner demon and manages to defeat him by finally accepting all his weaknesses and failures. As a result, his black armor shatters and all the darkness leaves his body. Finally, after all the struggles, he turns back to his normal self again. Afterward, Yuri, along with his comrades, goes to fight the Dark King. While his comrades distract the Dark King with their attack, Yuri uses this chance to save Fona from the Dark King. He then joins them in the battle. Dark King strikes everyone with his black power and then launches his surprise attack at Yuri by using a portal, but Yuri blocks his attack with his sword. He and Aram then slash him with their swords together. As a result, darkness emits from the Dark King and he transforms into a black dragon. Suddenly, Aram's pet, Furball, arrives after transforming into a white dragon and takes the black dragon away before he harms anyone. Yuri and Aram follow behind and witness how Furball is attacking the black dragon with his fire breaths. Aram gashes the black dragon's body with his sword and Yuri jumps at him to pierce his eyes. Suddenly, Yuri loses his balance due to the black dragon's rapid movement and ends up falling from the sky. Aram saves him from the fall, and then both of them see that the black dragon has collapsed after its fight with the white dragon. The Dark King turns into his demon form again. Despite being weakened, he attacks Yuri and Aram with his darkness, but Aram blocks his attacks using his glowing mana. Aram and Yuri then unleash a light attack on the Dark King. As a result, all darkness leaves his body and he turns back to his human form. Before dying, the Dark King heals his daughter Fiona, who was near her last breath, after absorbing the darkness inside the Chain Chronicles. After his death, Pirika returns back to their friend, symbolizing that the world is now full of light and hope.
And I'm pretty sure that you are.